Salam, peace be upon you. My name is Mohammed Layiq Sediqi, the father of Holophase. Part 38, the complete physical grammar, putting all the rules on one page. Remember the language we are learning. There is one field, phi, the holophase, one continuous cyclic movement from which all of reality unfolds. When phi begins to change, its first derivatives appear, and with them, the three dimensions show themselves at once. Time as omega, space as k, and motion as v, built from both. Every higher derivative is a finer question about how phi changes, and each one casts three shadows together: a time shadow, a space shadow, and a motion shadow. These echoes mix and weave into one another, forming the patterns we call fields, particles, bodies, thoughts, and worlds. In this picture, everything that exists is a living tapestry of phi, endlessly echoing through its derivatives and their dimensional shadows. Today, we listen to just one of those echoes. We have reached the final summit of Ep.9, the Generative Grammar. Our journey has been an epic traverse. We began by learning the alphabet, phi and its first echoes, omega and k. We then climbed through towering books of production, learning how phi writes waves, knots, dynamics, and entire computational worlds. We scaled the cliffs of validation, swearing oaths of honesty about where our map could break. Finally, in the rarefied air of Book 9.9, we witnessed a series of miracles. The familiar stories of Newton, Maxwell, Schrödinger, and Einstein, each a masterpiece in its own right, emerging not as separate revelations, but as translations of a single original text written in phi. Now, we stand at the very peak. The wind is clear. The view is panoramic. We can see the entire landscape of physics laid out below us, and we can trace every valley and peak back to a single source. Today, in Part 38, the complete physical grammar, putting all the rules on one page, we perform the ultimate act of synthesis. We will not add new rules. We will step back, gather every thread we have spun, and see the complete, breathtaking pattern of the tapestry all at once. Our anchor image is a master calligrapher who has spent a lifetime copying different literary classics, epics, sonnets, legal codes, scientific treatises, and now realizes they all share the same fundamental strokes, the same underlying alphabet, and can be generated from one concise set of penmanship rules. He takes a fresh, blank page, not to write a new book, but to inscribe the meta-book, the concise set of instructions that, if followed, can generate all the others. Today, we are that calligrapher, and this part is that single, precious page. Here is the culminating puzzle of this entire episode. We have seen separate syntheses, but do they fit together into one coherent, non-contradictory whole? Is classical mechanics as a phi dialect compatible with quantum mechanics as a phi dialect? Can the phi that curves into gravity also vibrate into a probabilistic wave function? Or have we merely created four separate, clever rewritings that don't talk to each other? The ultimate test of a unified grammar is not that it can describe pieces, but that it can describe the connections between pieces automatically. The answer is a resounding, structured yes. The Holophase grammar is not a collection of independent translations. It is a single, hierarchical, self-referential production system. Each synthesis we built is a different chapter generated by the same core engine, operating under different conditions and viewed at different levels of description. The rules don't change, the context does. Let us now inscribe that single page. Let us summarize the complete physical grammar of the universe, as we currently understand it in the Holophase framework. The substrate, the canvas, and its nature. What it is: a single, continuous, cyclic field. We denote it by the Greek letter phi. It is the holophase. Think of it as an angle on a circle or a phase. Its value is not a height or a charge. It is a position on a cycle. This is crucial. It lives on a circle, mathematically written as S1. Language role. The primal substance, the only noun in the fundamental vocabulary. Everything else is a verb or an adjective derived from it. The alphabet, the building blocks of description. The first letters, change. We ask, how does phi change? Temporal change, the derivative with respect to time giving us omega. This is the time echo, the rhythm, the frequency. Spatial change, the gradient, spatial derivative, giving us k. This is the space echo, the wave number, the spatial frequency. Motion, from these we define v, velocity, as the ratio omega of k in simple cases, the motion echo. The infinite tower. We can keep asking, how does the change? This yields second derivatives, acceleration, curvature, third derivatives, and so on to infinity. This infinite set is called the jet of phi, written j infinity phi type. This is our complete alphabet. Language role, the letters and punctuation. Every possible descriptive feature is a combination of these derivatives. 3. The syntax, the rules for forming sentences. Constraint propagation. The derivatives are not independent. If phi is smooth, its derivatives must satisfy consistency conditions, like the equality of mixed partial derivatives. This is basic grammar. Letters must follow certain orders. The action principle, dynamics. There is a narrative cost function, the action S phi, deflate. It is an integral over space and time of a Lagrangian density, which is a function of phi and its derivatives, the jet. The actual history of phi is one that makes this action stationary, usually a minimum or a saddle point. This is the core production rule. From all possible stories, tell the one that extremizes this cost. Symmetries and conservation. If the action S phi remains unchanged under a continuous transformation, like shifting in space or time, there is a corresponding conserved current. This gives us conservation of momentum, energy, charge. These are grammatical invariants, things that don't change no matter how you rewrite the sentence as long as you follow the rules. 4. The topology, the grammar of defects and wholeness. Because phi is circle-valued, it can form topological defects. Smoothly, phi can wind around the point. The number of windings is an integer, a winding number. This is a topologically protected quantity. It cannot change smoothly. Language role. These defects are the nouns for particles. The winding number becomes electric charge. The motion and braiding of these defects produce the phenomena of statistics, Fermi or Bose, and gauge fields. 5. The emergent dialects, the stories told. This is where the core grammar, applied in different regimes, generates the familiar languages of physics. Classical mechanics, the particle dialect. When phi forms stable localized lumps, solitons, and we track their center of mass in a regime where quantum phase coherence is lost, decoherence, their motion obeys Newton's laws. Force is the gradient of an effective potential emerging from other phi structures. Electromagnetism, the force field dialect. The gauge fields that naturally accompany topological defects to preserve local phase coherence manifest as the electric field E and magnetic field B. The constraints and dynamics of phi force E and B to obey Maxwell's equations. Light is a self-sustaining wave in these derived fields. Quantum mechanics, the probabilistic dialect. When we cannot track the full microstate of phi, which is always true for an internal observer, we must use a coarse-grained probabilistic description. The complex wave function psi emerges as an amplitude derived from phi's phase. Its evolution follows the Schrödinger equation, and measurement collapse is the update of our knowledge due to decoherence with a large, irreversible apparatus. General relativity, the geometric dialect. Large-scale collective correlations in the derivatives of phi define an effective metric tensor G, which tells us how to measure intervals. Concentrated phi activity, matter, energy, warps these correlations. The relationship between the curvature of G and the phi activity is governed by Einstein's field equations. Gravity is geometry. Geometry is frozen phi relationships. So here's the point. This is not a list of 4 different theories. It is a list of 4 different outputs of one theory, given different inputs and different scales of observation. The phi grammar is the operating system. Classical mechanics, electromagnetism, quantum theory, and general relativity are the apps, specialized programs that run on it. Let's explore the triunity of this complete grammar itself. The time echo of the grammar, historical unification. The time echo is the centuries long arc of physics itself, from Newton to Einstein to Bohr to the present. Our grammar provides a narrative that makes sense of this history. Each great theory was a profound but partial glimpse of the underlying phi language, discovered in a specific domain. The grammar unifies them not by force, but by revealing their common ancestry. The space echo, the master tree. Of knowledge we have been climbing, the Holophase master tree. Its roots are phi. Its trunk is the derivative tower and action principle. Its major branches are production, topology, waves, dynamics, computation, hierarchy, self-reference, validation, and synthesis. Its fruits are the predictions and technologies that fall from understanding. The tree is a spatial map of the logical dependencies of the grammar. The motion echo of the grammar, the research program. The motion echo is the ongoing, living process of testing, refining, and extending this grammar. It is the motion from claim to test, from failure to refinement, from synthesis to new prediction. It is the engine that propels us forward, using the grammar not as a dogma, but as a compass. Now, let's locate this meta view on the master tree itself. This part, the complete grammar, is the view from the top of the tree. It is not a new branch, it is the canopy view. It depends on every single node below it, every concept, every synthesis, every failure mode. It enables what comes next, the transition from understanding to application, from reading the universe to potentially writing with its language. This node is the summary and the launchpad. To feel the unity, let's light lanterns from domains where one system generates many seemingly different outputs. A near lantern from a music synthesizer. A modern digital synthesizer has a core sound generation engine, like a wavetable or an algorithm, our phi. It has a fundamental set of parameters: frequency, amplitude, waveform, our derivatives. By applying different rules, filters, envelopes, modulation, our constraints and dynamics to these parameters, it can generate an astounding array of sounds: the deep thump of a kick drum, classical localized pulse, the shimmering pad of a string section, a coherent field, the chaotic probabilistic crackle of noise, quantum-like randomness, and the sweeping spatialized effect of a Doppler shift or reverb, geometric relational effects. All from one engine, one set of rules. A middle lantern from a universal computer. A Turing machine, or a modern CPU, has a very simple instruction set, its fundamental grammar. By executing different sequences of these instructions, different programs, it can simulate the deterministic physics of a video game, classical mechanics, the rendering of light and shadows, electromagnetism, the probabilistic algorithms of a random number generator or machine learning, quantum-inspired statistics, and the warped landscapes of a virtual reality world, emergent geometry. The CPU doesn't know it's doing physics, it's just following its grammar. The physics emerges in the interpretation of the output. A far lantern from the dream of natural philosophy. Since Thales asked, "What is everything made of?" the quest has been for a unifying principle. The periodic table unified chemistry. Maxwell unified electricity and magnetism. Einstein unified space, time, and gravity. The Standard Model unified particles and forces, except gravity. Each step subsumed previous theories into a more general, elegant framework. Our complete phi grammar aims to be the next step in that lineage, not by adding another piece to the puzzle, but by showing that the puzzle picture is a projection of a simpler, higher dimensional shape. What is the specific language role of this complete grammar? It is the specification document. It is the definitive answer to the question, what are the minimal, self-consistent rules from which the observable phenomena of physics can be generated? It is the theory's own declaration of identity. The core question this part asks is the meta question. Having derived the effective rules of various physical domains from phi, do these derived rules fit together into a single, contradiction-free framework that automatically ensures consistency across domains? Example, a quantum particle in a curved spacetime? We are moving from asking how phi writes specific stories to asking if it writes a single, coherent epic. What does this complete grammar do? It compresses physical law into a simpler, more fundamental set of principles. It resolves conceptual tensions between theories, example, quantum versus gravity, by giving them a common ancestor, thus charting a path to their unification. It generates new questions and predictions by forcing consistency across domains. For example, how does the phi description of a black hole interface with the phi description of quantum information? It provides a new lens for discovery, telling us where to look for breakdowns or new phenomena at the boundaries between these emergent dialects. Now, stability and change. This complete grammatical framework holds as long as it continues to successfully generate all tested physics and remains free of internal contradiction. Its strength is its coherence and predictive breadth. It breaks down if a physical domain is discovered that resists formulation within it, or if two domains, when derived from phi, produce incompatible requirements that cannot be reconciled within a single phi model. This brings us to the ultimate falsifiability thread. The claim of a complete physical grammar is the boldest one can make. The prediction spine. 1. Comprehensive coverage. Any new, well-established physical phenomenon must, in principle, be describable as an effective theory emerging from the phi grammar under appropriate conditions. 2. Automatic consistency. Solutions and concepts derived in one domain must seamlessly work in others. For instance, a phi-derived quantum particle should be able to be placed into a phi-derived curved spacetime without introducing new ad hoc rules. The combined description should emerge from a single phi action that includes both the particle-like and geometric aspects. The phi description of the early universe, combining quantum, gravitational, and field aspects, should be a single, coherent narrative, not a patchwork of different theories. 3. Cross-domain predictions. The grammar should make predictions that span traditional boundaries. For example, a precise calculation of the vacuum energy, a quantum field theory concept, from the phi microstructure should have implications for cosmology, a general relativity concept, and these should be compatible with observation. The fail condition, falsification of the unification. 1. Resistant domain. The discovery of a clean, robust physical law or phenomenon that, despite serious and competent effort, cannot be formulated as an effective theory from any phi model. This would be a domain that speaks a language fundamentally alien to phi. 2. Irreconcilable conflict. If two successfully phi-derived theories, when combined, lead to logical or empirical contradiction. For example, if the phi reconstruction of quantum field theory and the phi reconstruction of general relativity, when applied to the same situation, like a black hole evaporation, yield mutually exclusive predictions that cannot be resolved by a more complete phi calculation. 3. Proven incompleteness. A mathematical proof that the phi grammar, as defined, cannot encompass a known essential feature of reality. For example, chiral fermions, 3 generations of particles, the specific value of the cosmological constant, without adding fundamentally new, ad hoc elements that are not naturally generated by the existing rules. Let's design a measurement scene that tests the coherence of the grammar across its most famous divide. A concrete, high-stakes measurement scene, the phi description of Hawking radiation. Hawking predicted that black holes radiate a thermal spectrum of particles due to quantum effects near the event horizon, a beautiful marriage of quantum field theory and general relativity. The phi challenge. Derive this phenomenon directly from a single phi model, without first assuming standard QFT in curved spacetime. The setup. Model a black hole as a specific, intense topological phi configuration, a knot with an event horizon as a causal boundary in the emergent metric. Model the vacuum, the seething microstate of phi, around it. The key is that the phi microstate is the same for both the infalling and outgoing perspectives. The derivation. By analyzing the evolution of linearized perturbations, phi waves, on this background phi configuration, and carefully tracing how the correlations in the phi microstate are stretched and severed by the emergent horizon, one should be able to compute the effective particle spectrum seen by a distant observer. The prediction. The derived spectrum should be thermal, blackbody, with a temperature proportional to the surface gravity of the phi-derived black hole metric, exactly matching Hawking's formula. The pass condition, grammar coherent. The phi-based derivation reproduces Hawking's result. This would be a monumental success, showing that quantum and gravitational effects arise seamlessly from the same substance and rules. The information paradox might then be addressable by tracking phi microstate correlations in full. The fail condition, Grammar incoherent. The phi calculation yields a radically different result. For example, no radiation, a non-thermal spectrum, or a violation of energy conservation that cannot be remedied. This would show that the phi grammar, as currently understood, cannot smoothly blend its quantum and geometric dialects, failing a key test of unification. This is the kind of test that separates a deep unification from a superficial repackaging. Let's cultivate a final meta recognition skill. You can train your mind to recognize unified grammar thinking in any complex system. Look for the generative engine. Analyze a thriving ecosystem. The incredible diversity of life, plants, herbivores, predators, decomposers, all emerges from a single grammar. DNA-based reproduction, mutation, and natural selection acting on a physical environment. The dialects are the different species and their behaviors, but they all run on the same core code. Consider human language like English. From a finite set of phonetic sounds, alphabet, and grammatical rules, syntax, we generate an infinite variety of sentences. Poems, laws, jokes, scientific papers are different physics theories. The unity is in the generative rules. Look at a city's economy. The diverse businesses, restaurants, factories, tech startups, shops, all emerge from a single grammar of supply, demand, investment, and labor within a legal framework. The specific forms are dialects of the underlying economic activity. Whenever you see stunning diversity arising from a surprisingly small set of simple generative rules, you are seeing the pattern of a unified grammar. The universe is the ultimate example. We must now, finally, return this complete view to its source, phi. We have added no new ingredients to create this unified vision. We started with one cyclic field. We gave it the capacity to change and to have the cost of its history measured by an action. From that alone, through logical and mathematical necessity, the entire structure unfolded. Particles, forces, probabilities, and space-time itself are not things we put in. They are things we found when we looked deeply enough at the consequences of phi's existence. The language role of this summary is the table of contents and the index for the book of the universe written in phi. It allows us to find any physical concept and see its derivation path from the first principles. What does this complete grammar do for our place in the cosmos? It empowers and humbles. It empowers by revealing that the universe is comprehensible, its laws derivable from a beautiful, simple starting point. It humbles by showing that we, as conscious patterns within phi, are part of that derivation, readers who emerge from the text, now trying to understand the author's mind. Now let's sound the final tri-unity refrains for the complete epic. The time echo of completion, the end of the beginning. The time echo is the closing of a grand circle of understanding. We end episode 9 not with a full stop, but with a semicolon. The story of discovering the grammar is complete. The story of using it is just beginning. The space echo of completion, the map of reality. The space echo is the master tree itself, now fully visible in its glorious, interconnected entirety. It is a map we can hold in our minds, a map that says, "You are here," and shows all the paths that led to this point, and all the territories that lie ahead. The motion echo of completion, the call to action. The motion echo is the forward momentum this understanding creates. It is the impetus to test, to engineer, to explore the boundaries, to write new sentences in the language of phi. It is the transition from passive reader to active participant. This is where we stand. Part 38 is the panoramic view from the summit of episode 9. Below us lies the entire journey of the generative grammar, from first production to final synthesis. Ahead, the horizon of a new kind of engagement with reality. If you want to see the full mathematical derivations and exact equations behind this idea, the complete specification of the phi action, the detailed maps from the jet to effective theories, the proofs of consistency, you can search for Holophase on Zenodo. There you will find the scientific papers that this audio journey is built on. We have done what we set out to do. We have learned not just the alphabet, but the complete generative grammar of the universe. We have seen how it writes itself. Our journey in Holophase continues. With this grammar in hand, we are no longer mere observers. We are literate. We can read the cosmos. And the next inevitable question is, what shall we write? In the final episode of our series, we will look ahead to the frontier where reading becomes writing, the frontier of engineering reality itself. Before we end, the mandatory zoom out to hold our scope one last time in episode 9. The complete physical grammar shows that classical, quantum, relativistic, and geometric are not fundamental categories. They are genres, styles of storytelling employed by the single universal language of phi. One field, phi, plus its infinite derivatives, plus an action principle, plus the courage to follow the logic wherever it leads. From this, everything derives. We have not found the theory of everything, we have found a language for everything. And in that language, the most beautiful story is the one that tells of its own discovery. As we conclude, hold the image of the calligrapher's single page. Upon it is not a long list of laws. It is a short, elegant set of instructions for generating worlds. The page is not the end, it is the seed. The Holophase grammar is that seed. We have now planted it in our understanding. What grows from it next is up to us. Salam and peace be upon you.